Hey, welcome back. SportsBIT Betting Insight today. Pauly and Teddy, Tuesday, January 17th. Big game breakdown, Michigan and Wisconsin. We also have Texas and Baylor, and one game in the association to go over, the T-Wolves and the Spurs, plus the play of the day. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books coming up. Well, we knew it was bad for the books. We didn't know it was this bad. William Hill, which operates sports books at 108 locations throughout the state, the worst day in the 5-year history of the company in Nevada. The parlay liability built up over the weekend. You know, it started with the favorites on Saturday. Somehow, someway, the Patriots covered, and the 7-figure fate was sealed with the underdogs, Steelers and the Packers, both winning outright, Teddy.
No. It didn't start with the favorites on Saturday. It started with the favorites a week ago Saturday. Remember, all 4 favorites in the wild card round covered. And then bettors were all over Clemson. With the Tigers upset over Alabama, William Hitt said that was the worst loss they ever had on a college football game ever. So, the books got clocked last weekend, or 2 weekends ago. They got clocked in the national championship game, and they got clocked again this past weekend. It has been carnage for sports books in the state of Nevada. Jay Rude, the vice president of MGM, quote, "It's just colossal," talking about how much his sportsbook has lost. Westgate Superbook assistant manager Ed Salmons, quote, "Awful," talking about the weekend. "Can't be worse." Yeah, the books, I mean, we knew it was bad, but the quotes coming out of Vegas on Monday were like, worst stretch ever. I know I had a horrible betting week last week, Paul. I mean, just a freaking disaster. Doesn't make me feel any better that the books took it on the chin the same week that I took it on the chin, especially because there were so many bettors out there that really enjoyed last weekend.
Yeah, and Jimmy Vaccaro will run it down how things went at the South Point. Remember, Jimmy said they were saved because they got professional money late on Detroit and Miami plus the 12.5. But, you know, this is rare, Teddy. Forget about, the Clemson game. But to see the favorites start 6-0 in the playoffs and the books get carried out like this doesn't happen that often.
Well, yeah, and then not only, again, the books got clobbered week 1, and then the 6-0 with the first, and then the bettors were all over the underdogs on Sunday.
Sure, yeah.
You know, it wasn't like the bettors were loading up on the favorites. They had a 2-1, at least a 2-1 ticket count on the Steelers at most sportsbook, and of course, the Packers were the hottest ticket in town. Come on, show that picture. Let's see those bettors out there celebrating again. Yeah, bettors feeling pretty good after those scores went final.
Yes, a controversy here with the Steelers. They get ready for the AFC title game in New England. That Antonio Brown filmed the post-game speech of Tomlin calling the Patriots assholes that they have a day and a half head start on us because they played Saturday night. Steelers had to play Sunday night.
Yeah, but Belichick's quote, this comes to one of the all-time classic quotes, and I'm assuming that he's poking fun. But let's read it. As you know, I'm not on Snapface and all that. I'm not really too worried about what they put on Instant Chat or whatever it is. Yeah, Belichick's not worried about locker room material. He's not worried about any of that fodder. He's worried about getting his team ready, X's and O's, against Pittsburgh. And the one thing the Steelers don't want to do, you have the Patriots coming off a bad game. The last thing you want to do is start riling this team up. Not a smart move by Antonio Brown.
Yep, bad bets. It's become one of my favorite chants in sports when the Philly fans chant, "Trust the process." The Sixers win again. Bad bet. They bet Milwaukee up from 7-9. They lose at home to the 76ers.
Oh, yeah, here come the Sixers, man. And we've been waiting for this. We haven't really been waiting for this, but Sixers fans have been waiting this for at least 5 years now. But as a bettor, this is an opportunity. You have a team that has been miserable forever, and they're not miserable right now. 6 wins in their last 8 games. They rallied from down 10 in the first half. They led by as many as 15 on the road in the second half. 7 different players scored in double figures. They beat the Bucks by 13 on the boards. And your boy, Embiid, 22 points, 12 boards in less than 28 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, we talked about this on the deep dive yesterday. How about these games going over on MLK? What, did the bookmakers fall asleep? They make a mistake?
Well, yeah, but I got to go back to what's going on in Philly right now for just 1 second. Look at the tweet from ESPN Stats and Info, okay? The numbers that Joel Embiid is putting up right now are comparable to Wilt Chamberlain type numbers for a rookie. That's all. you need to know. Of course, the wise guys got it right with that total, Pauly. It got bet up from 206.5 as high as 208.5 at 5 dimes. It's not what we anticipated, but yeah, we can finish filling out the chart right now from Monday's deep dive on SportsBIT, and you'll see it. Look at all the overs. So what's the summation? All those unders and under monies on MLK Day and early starts in the last 2 years. What did we say was going to happen? The books were going to adjust. What did they do? They adjusted. What happened? They probably adjusted too much. The wise guys got it right, bet these games over the total this year, and ended up cashing 4 over tickets in 5 tries with those early start games, making the books pay for their over adjustment mistake.
Bet for the books. Also, everyone saw what we saw, our play of the day winner with the Warriors. They bet it up from 7.5. It closed 9. Cavs scored only 91 points, helped the game stayed under. But that thing was over early, Teddy, as the Warriors destroy the Cavs in a double revenge spot.
Yeah, and again, it's something we talked about on SportsBIT on yesterday's show. Hopefully we were able to make a couple of bucks with that play of the day on Golden State. But again, it wasn't just us that saw it. The whole market saw it when you talk about a 1.5 point move on that contest. And yeah, the books got a little back because the total got steamed up 3 points. The Warriors did their part getting it over, but Cleveland didn't. And of course, in the 34.5 minutes that Draymond Green was on the court, the Warriors plus 41. How about this for Green's triple-double? 11 points, 13 rebounds, 11 assists, but he only took 6 shots all night and 4 free throw attempts. So that's taking advantage of your opportunities. Of course, he blocked 5 shots as well. Draymond Green is a guy who has something to prove against the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, and a flagrant on LeBron, too. And speaking of LeBron, how about this tweet? ESPN Stats and Info. Cavs outscored by 32 points when LeBron was on the floor. Second worst of his career. The worst last season, minus 34 also against the Warriors. From Gambling 911. Teddy, here's a story about how the rich get richer. A Brazilian businessman added to his riches after he bet $35,000 on a single roulette spin and won $3.5 million. They were going crazy at the casino.
Yeah, no. He's not betting $35,000 on a spin. He's betting $35,000 on the inside. He was betting number 32. Okay, you can see them all stacked up. They're stacking up the $100 chips on 32. And of course, when you talk about the rich getting richer, when you're betting 35 grand on an inside number in roulette, you clearly have money to spend. We're talking about a guy who's like his uncle is on the billionaire list. You know, the Bartel family owns all of these shoe companies in Brazil. And here's a guy who owns a bunch of shoe companies or is heir to a bunch of shoe companies. What happens? He's cleaning up for millions, hitting inside on the roulette wheel. The casinos will take his action, I'll say that much.
Yeah, unbelievable. What a payday that was there. Bedlam in the casino there. And also, David Purdom, ESPN Chalk, before Thanksgiving, 2 guys decided to pick an NFL team that needed to win out to make the playoffs. They placed an initial $300 bet on the team, and the plan was to roll the winnings into another bet every week until it won the Super Bowl. They chose the Packers. Sunday, they won their 8th consecutive game with the upset against the Cowboys. The initial $300 investment now worth $28,000.
Yeah, $28,000, and it's been confirmed. Jay Rude from the MGM confirmed that the duo has an active ticket in their books for the $28,000 on $28,213.60 on Green Bay this week. It's all money line. All of the wagers on the Packers during this run have been on the money line, but they have absolutely no plan on hedging any of it. It's Super Bowl or bust. It's get rich or bust. And it's a group of guys that did the same thing last year. Last year, they put their money on Dallas when the Cowboys were 3-7. And in the very first game, they lost to Carolina, and Tony Romo broke his collarbone. And of the 4 guys that did it, 2 of the friends are like, I'm not doing it again. Well, the other 2 all of a sudden have turned their $328 grand, but they're not going to cash it out, Paul. They're not going to hedge. They're not going to do anything. Agree or disagree?
I disagree. Because if they beat the Falcons, they'll have $76,000 in winnings, and they said they're going to throw it on the Super Bowl, whoever they face as well. Get out of there. You've had a nice run. If they beat the Falcons, get out of there and take the win.
I'm with you in theory, okay? But that's just the way we're wired. We live in Vegas. We're not, I'm going to gamble everything. The best gambling stories are guys that don't care one bit about money. They want stories. They want experiences. And these guys have said, hey, we don't care about the money. This is a story we're going to talk about the rest of our lives. More power to you. I'm not going to rip them for that, although it's not the way I would approach the situation. That's because we care about money, Pauly.
Well, they have the story already, though. I mean, they're making national headlines with the run they've had here. So, yeah, immediately, they after the bet wins, they double it up or they throw everything down and let it ride in the NFC Championship game. All right, good luck out there. Up next, big game breakdown. One a game in the association and 2 college games, plus Jimmy Vaccaro in the deep dive. Coming up on SportsBIT, betting insight today on SBRpicks.com.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
All right, back on SportsBIT, betting insight today. Follow us on Twitter at Pauly Howard at Teddy_covers. Time for big game breakdown. As always, live odds, sportsbookreview.com. One game in the association. T-Wolves on the road to take on the Spurs. San Antonio 11, 202 the total. Once upon a time, we loved handicapping Pop and the Spurs because they were one of the most consistent teams in all of sports. A week ago, the Spurs have been 47-2 straight up as double-digit favorites the last 2 seasons. Then, Wednesday, laying doubles against Milwaukee at home, they lose. And then they have a game in Mexico City against Phoenix, laying 12.5, and they lose. Defense broke down in both games.
Well, yeah, and that's the key and the surprise for what we saw to San Antonio last week. They shot over 50%. They hit 9 of 20 from three-point land against Phoenix. In Mexico City, they lost anyway. They shot just shy of 48% against the Bucks. So it wasn't like, all right, one of those nights where San Antonio's shots weren't hitting. They hit their shots. They didn't get stops. And you wonder, there's been so much resting and so much diversity in that lineup. Pop's one guy who's got 1 through 15 ready. But by resting players so often, we got to wonder, is the defensive chemistry of this team maybe a step behind where it should be at this stage? And it's worth noting that in between the loss to the Bucks on Wednesday and the loss to the Suns last Saturday, there was a game against the Lakers at home. Spurs won that game by 40. And now, instead of taking Timberwolves lightly, they've had 2 days off. They're coming off a loss. This is only their 5th game in their last 12 days, and they're off again on Wednesday. So it's an opportunity for San Antonio to bring full focus to their opponent.
Yep, good points there. And Minnesota had shown signs of turning the corner, 3 straight wins and covers at home. Then the first game of the road trip, Sunday in Dallas, they lost 98-87. And I think they were hurt because they moved the game up because they didn't want to go head-to-head with the Cowboy game. Tibbs, quote, "I thought we played a low-energy game. That hurt us on both sides of the ball. If you don't play with energy, you're going to have a problem." So they had their way. They made shots. They spread us out. I thought we had a good walkthrough this morning, but you have to bring energy to the game. End quote. Now the challenge, can his team starting 3 one-and-done players step up against this class on the road?
And that's really such an interesting question, Pauly, because that's one thing we don't talk about a lot. The impact of the one-and-dones on the NBA level. Even though these guys are 2nd, 3rd-year players, sometimes 4th-year players with Minnesota, we're still talking about young guys, Wiggins, Towns, and guys who were one and done in college. And we know the level of athleticism. We know the level of talent. I mean, Towns, a world of talent. 86 points, 46 rebounds during that 3-game winning streak. But too many times, A, he's trying to do it on his own. And B, when you're going up against a class of team like San Antonio, you know what? 3 or 4 years of college makes a difference against squads like that.
Yes, very good. Now, game number 2, college now. Live odds, sportsbookreview.com. Texas hits the road to take on Baylor. The Bears are 14, 128.5 the total. We told you last week Baylor was not the number 1 team in the country. Cashed an easy ticket as they were embarrassed in Morgantown. But they showed a lot of guts coming back and winning at Kansas State. They controlled the boards, good defense. And it's going to have to do with defense and rebounding the entire season. That's been the key to the Bears so far.
Yeah, I mean, LeCompte came in and scored 26 points in that game on Saturday at K-State. But, I mean, that was a gut check win for Baylor. And they passed. They survived. They played well. And I don't think this team is a real threat to win a national title. I don't think they're the best team in the country. They're not number 1 overall. But they're going to be a tough out. They're a force on defense. Right now, the numbers show number 5 overall in the country on defense. Number 12 in effective field goal percentage allowed. Number 14 in block shots. They got the 7-footer. Joe Lual Aquil, I apologize for botching the name. I do it all the time. But he's a guy that they didn't know was going to be ready to step in. And boy, he's not just stepped in. He's averaging like 26 minutes a game and more than 3 blocks per game. Plus, he's scoring. He's grabbing almost 8 rebounds a contest. He's been a low post force that they didn't really know they were going to have.
Okay, now midway through the second season here at Texas, they're wondering if hiring Shaka was a smart move. They're just 27-23 under Smart so far. They played hard, but they can't finish. They're 1-6 straight up in line games decided by 5 points or less. What do you think here? Is it a little bit of a disappointment this year, no doubt?
Yes, so far, but you can understand why. Okay, now you got the guard, Kendall Yancey. He's not going to play. So Texas is down to basically 6 players in the rotation. Look at what happened against West Virginia, their last contest, the top 6. They played 192 out of 200 possible floor minutes. They scored all 72 points. They had 23 of the 25 rebounds. And when we think about Shaka Smart and what Shaka Smart wants to do, okay, what did he do at VCU? That team every year had 10, 11, 12 guys ready to go, ready to play, and allowed Smart to play the type of defensive pressure, up-tempo, run-and-gun basketball that he wants to play. He hasn't been able to do that at Texas yet. Didn't have the talent last year. Haven't stayed healthy this year. It's his second season on the job. Yes, they've been disappointing, but for God's sakes, Texas, I know it's tough for an African-American head coach in Austin, but you got to give guys a chance. Give them a year. Give them 2. Give them 3. Shaka Smart's a good coach.
No doubt. They went to the tournament last year.
For him to have any questions about his job security right now, to me, is completely ridiculous.
Yep, totally agree. They went to the tournament last year, too. Lunacy. Last one, ESPN, live odds, sportsbookreview.com, Michigan and Wisconsin. The Badgers are 11, 131 the total. Beeline, usually automatic in games like this, 11-4 ATS, taking double figures in Big Ten games since he took the Michigan job. But this is a tough matchup. We've been telling you this season about the great talent and how good Wisconsin is, and Nigel Hayes been through the Big Ten wars. Wisconsin in the top 20 for both offensive and defensive efficiency and top 10 offensive and defensive rebounding.
Yeah, John Beilein has been around for a long time. He's an excellent head coach. He's faced just about every matchup there could be. But when he looks at the rebounding matchup for this game, it's got to scare the hell out of him tonight. All right, after 5 Big Ten games, Michigan minus 41 on the boards. They're, at the bottom in offensive rebounding, at the bottom in defensive rebounding among Big Ten teams. All right, that's a big part of why they're 0-5 against the spread in Big Ten play. And even the 2 outright wins over Penn State and Nebraska were close to covering the number. They didn't cover the number, in part because they weren't able to get a couple of extra possessions. Now, the last 4 games, not only 0-4 against the spread, but here's your stat of the night for SportsBIT, all right? Every day we try to give you something that you're not going to find anywhere else. Here's it. This is it. The last 4 games, and usually more than one thing that you don't find anywhere else. But look, the last 4 games, Michigan Wolverines, not only have they not covered a spread, they have never led the spread at any time in any of the games. They've gone 173 minutes and 17 seconds of court time since they were last covering a point spread.
Wow, unbelievable. And I'll tell you this, they didn't solve anything against Nebraska. Nebraska shot 56% from the floor. Big edge at the free throw line where they outscored Nebraska 26-4. But he was happy after the win. Beilein, quote, "I'm happy for our guys. Some of you may have coached, but when you go through funks in your season, it's hard in practice. Practices are hard, and after you lose, it's even harder for everybody to have guys with a little more bounce in their step before they go to Wisconsin. They go to class. They're proud of themselves. They just played as hard as they could today." End quote there. What do you think of this one? You're Mr. Big Ten.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. The Wolverines got 20 from Wagner. They got 20 from Walton. They got 20 from Irvin in that win over Nebraska. They still didn't cover the number. They still got out-rebounded. And I'm telling you, Wisconsin's a one-way team for me. I'm either betting on the Badgers or I'm not getting involved with the game at this stage of the campaign.
Very good. Up next, the deep dive. How did they do at the South Point? Jimmy Vaccaro run it down, an early look at the championship games. Plus, they already put a lineup on Alabama, Florida State, September 2nd to start the college football season. And, of course, the play of the day. All that coming up on SportsBIT. Betting Insight today on SBRpicks.com.
That's right, the 8th annual SBR Forum Bash will be held at the breathtaking all-inclusive Hard Rock Hotel in Punta Cana on Super Bowl weekend. Join Natalie Rydstrom and the Odds Couple as they mingle with SBR pros and have fun under the sun. Stay tuned for video coverage of Bash activities, including a $5,000 poker tournament sponsored by uwager.eu. Only on SBR, your sportsbook authority since 1999.
Time for the deep dive. Jimmy Vaccaro, if you're ever in Las Vegas, stop in and see him at the South Point, bookmaker for over 40 years. And follow him on Twitter at Jimmy Vaccaro. We finally got some great games, Jimmy. I was thinking Sunday that both games were going to go to overtime. Terrific finishes.
It was unbelievable. As we've talked about so many times, Paul, the entertainment factor here was it's over the top. I'll tell you what actually hurt some bettors yesterday is because the first game took so long. The people with tickets in their hand, they had to wait till the game was over so they could obviously cash their ticket and rebet it for the Kansas City game. We actually had to shut out some people because it was just so busy. The second game was busier than the first game, but that's the price you pay. It's a good price because obviously you don't like to shut anybody out, but the entertainment value is absolutely incredible. You couldn't ask for anything better when 3 field goals were kicked, with 1 minute and 33 seconds to go. And that was a pretty bad report because there was such a huge amount of money in the Packers with the money line. But where do you go from here, pal? I don't know if you can top that.
Yeah, and the Steeler game, too. They win the game, but they don't score a touchdown.
I've never seen that. I talked to a couple of people yesterday. I can't even fathom thinking that far back where 6 field goals wins a game. Then you have a 2-point conversion that's nullified by a holding penalty. Then you have the miss here. And then, for the first time in a long time, you saw what should be done quite a bit. The Steelers had one chance to win the football game. They had to pass the ball on the 3rd and 3 instead of trying to run the ball. If they run the ball and don't make it, the way that everything is going, you figure that Atlanta will at least have a kick to win the game. But you go for the first down and you win the game. Pretty easy math, but sometimes the coaches, don't follow good advice.
Yeah. How about Saturday night where the Patriots, they were horrible and they still get the money?
Got the money, and that was a bad parlay game for the house. Make no mistake about it. That you're laying on 8, and as a bookmaker, and forget the other side. If you had it, you won the money. But we thought we were in relatively good shape. They would have to score twice in the late tenor of the game. But you saw what happened. 8 goes to 15. Then what a lot of people would say, including Al Michaels, it's not over yet. Forget the total at that time. The 15 goes to 18 with the field goal. But then he mentioned something about, now the game is officially over. So I can't begin to imagine. And yes, as long as I've been watching, I haven't never seen Brady play this bad. But even playing bad, they won a hapless game against a hapless team. The quarterback situation is obviously dismal. Defensively, they played well. Defensively, going in there, if you just said we're going to be the recipient of 3 turnovers, we have a chance to win the game. They kept it close for a while, but they just couldn't move the ball. You would say Osweiler's passing is a little different than Aaron Rodgers when he squeezed that one in there at the sideline with a few seconds ago. That was incredible play. That might have been one of the better plays I think I've ever seen it in over 40 years.
Yes. Do you expect Packer and over money all week from the public?
Yeah, here's the teaser play for next week. Again, I've been wrong, but I'm usually more right than wrong only because I'm behind the counter and just see so many people who are coming not to be a part of betting on NFL football. I think the teaser craziness will be Patriots to win the football game, but in the other game, I don't think you want to tease Atlanta down to +1 or a +2 where you're getting Aaron Rodgers in 10 points. That's kind of hard to pass up no matter what side of the counter you're from. And it proved again the other day where even though the Packers might have a chance to win the game, there was no way that they were going to lose their teaser money. So I believe from those type of bets we have, the prop bets, that teaser money on the Patriots, teaser money on the Packers. and hopefully we'll see what happens from there.
I mean, the props, Jimmy, and the Super Bowl total. I mean, what we could see with the Super Bowl total. Look at these 4 quarterbacks that are left.
Well, we finally got it down to there's no dream teams here, that's for sure. I mean, you got the 4 guys on the ball there that had fantastic years, and who knows what will happen. Pauly, this I've never seen. I'm sure that I'll be looking and listening to other people also who follow this thing. I've never seen a 60 total in an NFL playoff game. But you know what? The sharps will be on the under, and the parlays will be all on the over. So it'll be one of those situations where this will definitely be pros against recreational guys with the total. But I've never seen a 60, and I've been doing this practically my entire life.
You were actually okay last week, you told us, because you got some Miami money and Detroit money late with the professionals. How tough a weekend was it for you?
Yes, so we saw, Pauly. It's like we actually had some buyback on the teams that we needed. We weren't ashamed of going one with the Chiefs, even though there was 2.5s around, because we needed some buyback, A, on the money line, and B, on some of the Chiefs. So when you make it a bargain, was a 1.5 different from the market value out there. We did get a lot of play. It took away some of the hurt. It still was a losing weekend. We played about even on Saturday, but what happens when these situations, and again, no crying for the bookmaker here, because they had both winners on the parlay card and parlays that they bet over the counter on Saturday. So when Sunday hits, all you have to do is win one team, and you're paying them 6-1 now because everybody had both winners on with the parlays on Saturday. So that's what you get into, but that's a fair way of playing it, because we obviously could have won one of the games on the Saturday. But when it's a carryover like that, and 65 to 70% of your ticket count out there is on the same 2 teams, and they win and cover, obviously it makes for a hard Sunday. Just you're playing defense on Sunday as opposed to offense. But that's the way it is. And what can I tell you, buddy? 2 more games and 1 more game. What a crazy season it's been. But I wish they were starting over, which was August 15th.
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, you put up an Alabama-Florida State line already?
Yeah, we put up 3.5, and we got some play on both ways. A little more on the 3.5. That's the Florida State game, September 2nd, and we actually wrote about 40 tickets over the weekend. Nothing earth-shattering, but as we've talked about so many times, the colleges are finally waking up also and putting these great games on the first college weekend of the season here. And we'll be ready, like I said, about 40 tickets. Maybe the biggest bet we took was $200, but it serves its purpose. People talk about it. People take it home. People tell their friends. The sports industry is having what I would consider a new reinvention of itself. We're getting a whole new broad audience, and that's brought in by women, and it's brought in by the phone app. So who knows where it's going to go from here, my young man.
You're the best, sir. We will talk to you next week with the Super Bowl and the props. Thank you. Back on SportsBIT, always good to catch up with Jimmy Vaccaro. Next week, we'll know the Super Bowl matchup, and he'll tell the story of how props started. William, the Refrigerator Perry, he'll tell that story next week. All right, money time, play of the day. Easy winner with the Warriors. Let's make it 2 in a row. Teddy, back to the association. What are we doing?
Yeah, we laid the chalk last night. We're going to do it again tonight. Betting number 708, the San Antonio Spurs, a -11. I'll tell you, I was mad at myself for not laying the 14 with the Spurs off their loss to Milwaukee last week. The next game against the Lakers, they led by 17. Then again, they're laying 14, led by 17 in the first quarter. They won by 40. I'm not going to make that sin of omission again. Spurs rested off a loss, period. 7-1 straight up, 6-2 ATS this year. And the only loss came back on November 9th versus the Rockets. And no, this is not a short-term trend. Kawhi Leonard ain't slumping. Just had a career-high 38 in only 32 minutes against Phoenix on Saturday. Take San Antonio -11. That's our play of the day.
All right, very good. Good college basketball NBA schedule coming up. And obviously Friday we get to the championship games. Look-ahead lines, potential Super Bowl matchups. We'll get to that on Wednesday's show as well. Thanks for watching. Tell your friends. And don't forget to chat on Thursday night. We look forward to it on SportsBIT. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.